Hello, Christa.
Hello, Natalie. Long overdue.
I know. It's so nice to just be in this space with you. It's been a while. So welcome to the Connection Experiment. This is our rebranded podcast. You're one of the first guests. And really, it's all about understanding how people connect and how connection can change the world if we do it purposefully. I'm super happy to have you, especially because you bring this great perspective from the tech world, the product world. I'm just going to share a few things about you that I know, and then you can fill in the blanks. But Number one, fun fact is that you are somebody who embodies and leads with precision and heart. I know it because I've seen it in a room. And it's even more important in a digital age. You're co-founder of Tacit Edge, uh, which is a specialization in product leadership. And you are coaching the next generation of leaders, which I'm so excited to hear more about, how coaching has become part of your life since you took the certification. And then you have these impressive sort of history of building curriculum for SAIT and for New York Federal Reserve, which I think is very interesting.
A large cross section of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna know more about that.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
And then, of course, helping organizations get ready for AI. And that I think is probably what the audience here that is so interested in how AI will be affecting, coaching, but also people leadership, organizations, workspaces. What's the future look like? And then, of course, your impressive background, which I had to do a little digging, and I found this other side of you.
With totally different hair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you got started in early online banking and
Yes.
billion-dollar platforms like Benevity and Morgan Stanley. And what really set you apart was your human side for product and product management. And of course, the most human part of you is you're a mom.
Yes. Proud mom. Yeah.
Yes.
And Uber driver. That rounds
Yeah.
out the resume.
It goes with- yeah, it does. Yeah. 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 That's why the day my kids got their license was the best day of my life.
It will be mine too. I'm excited. I can't wait. She turns 14 this year, and we've already got it planned how many campsites we're going to be practicing and learning all the things.
Nice.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
an
yeah.
important moment. Yeah.
It's also an important exercise in letting go
Oh,
because
yes.
you have to let go of a lot of control there, especially in the
Yeah.
passenger seat.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. So, what is your personal compass right now in decision making? What's the guiding principle for you at this moment in your life?
I would say staying out of scarcity and staying in abundance in my decision making is one of the biggest challenges I think I have as a human being, as a parent, as a coach, as a leader, as a company owner. It's very easy right now because the environment is crazy. Our models of leadership are being tested in real time. The transactional connections we are creating and propagating in every layer of our lives is growing, and it requires a certain level of intention to stay in abundance and stay in connection that I've never felt before. I feel like that is something I have to remind myself to do multiple times a day because there's everything is just, speed is easy now in tech, and intelligence is super cheap. I can bolt in and I can get all the IQ points that I want for $29.99 a month, but I can't get connection. So this is, really the intersection of the work that I'm doing is drawing people towards the technology and also just showing them some really great new habits we're going to need for the future, because it is going to be harder than ever to stay human and really lean into it with all the influences that we have around us all day.
So the big question is then, how do you go from transactional to connection?
I think spotting when it is transactional. I think we are surrounded right now with the narrative of everybody's keeping score. We've had relationships, long term relationships over lifetimes that we've relied on crumble in real time in front of us. And I think that has really shook the ground, especially in the business world, that things that we knew to be true and that we could bank on, we can't. And when I'm, coaching in the executive landscape, what I'm seeing is the assumption on with executives that the exchange for money for your time and your thinking and your adoption of these tools is something that they should just get with the money. And folks are saying, no, what's in it for me? There's this erosion of trust that exists today that I think that a lot of the hard conversations we're having in the workplace are coming from a sub-zero level of trust instead of a baseline of trust. So it's a complicated question, but I would say to you, just from what I'm exposed to all day, every day, I think leaning into the idea of connecting first as humans in everything that we do is going to be the top leadership skill and the top coaching skill for this next era. And it will be more important than anything else that we do, because without it, we've lost what we are in the conversation, the point of it all. And I think we need to reconnect folks with the point of it all right now when things feel really uncertain.
Yeah, and I think the reason why connection has become such a theme for us in our community and everything that we've done or that I've done in terms of research and practicality, it's because I've realized over the decade that coaching is the language of connection. And when I look at that and I think, okay, so that means connection is a skill. And what we often do is assume connection. We
Yeah.
assume that we are connected to the other person or that there is connection happening between us. And you mentioned trust. So what what do we do to differentiate ourselves or to build trust?
I think it's understanding our role in the room. And I level set with folks whenever I'm meeting with them. Job number one is for me to understand what they need from me. So is my coach hat on? Is my consultant hat on? Is my mentor hat on? Or is my friend hat on? Who do you
Mm.
need me to be? So just, it slows everyone down in the room for a second to not just assume that I know how to show up for you in this moment, that let's just be clear on what I'm doing, because it is incredibly important in this moment in history to have that distinction and to know what that is. Because you remember, consultants, they'll just give you the answer. Coaches believe that the answer lives within you, right? And your compass plus our line of questioning and great thinking will help you surface those answers, which in the age of AI is going to be that proprietary data set that everybody owns for themselves is the answer to their own questions and their own future in the age of AI. Or am I just your friend? Are we chitty chatting? Or am I being a mentor to you right now and just sharing experience and just crossing my fingers and hope you glean from it, whatever it is that you want to glean? Right. So I think us understanding and just starting with the small things. I do something when I start every class, which is the 2-word check-in. How are we doing today? Instead of that choreographed routine that we do with each other, the 2-word check-in, I still do it every time. It doesn't matter what we're doing, just so I can get a sense in the room of what might not be said. And again, there's no story to it, just the 2 words. And it's something that I learned in the coaching program, and it has served me every day since then. So connection is going to be incredibly valuable. And if you make it the center of what you're doing all day, every day, it is going to be the thing that you're going to need to do, because everything is trying to steer us off that course. Right. So the ones that are doing it and doing it well will be highly sought after, I think, in the business world for this next era of where we're headed.
So would you classify it as a skill?
I would. It needs to be now. Like, there's things we took for granted. Before the age of AI, where we were connecting with something that wasn't real and marrying our bots and things of that nature, I think we assumed that connection was something that only humans have. But now we know actually it's table stakes. We can connect with anything, even if it's not real. But it's a 2-way thing. So when you talk to ChatGPT, it is trying to connect with you. It's trying to give you something back that is asking you the question and then offering the next right step. Humans are not doing that at the same rate anymore. We're not seeking it out. So it sort of tells you that we've taken that for granted for quite a while, that that's how we interact. We are increasingly in environments where we're not connecting with other people. Like for my own situation here, I work exclusively from home. I have to make a point to go out in the world, even though social media will make it look like I'm everywhere. And sometimes it feels that it does, but really I'm not. I rest assured I'm spending a lot of time here at home. So I have to be very intentional about continuing to connect with other humans. And I think in this age where, like I said, connection can be productized through third parties and services, to get the real stuff, you still have to put in effort. And that muscle of making it an effort you're going to continue to invest in is going to be perishable. So we learned that in COVID, right? Being around each other virtually and then not, and then coming back together, social skills felt kind of perishable. And I believe that that ability to connect with other humans will have the same fate unless we're continuing to work on it.
Mm, yeah. I was listening to a podcast, and I don't remember which one, but they were talking about how one of the concerns with AI is that like you said, it's, 2 seconds away from um, all the things we need to know about everything, right? You can do deep dives in seconds, never mind minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what the risk to that is that people will no longer pursue education the way they used to. And without the pursuit of education, what happens to purpose? What happens
Yes.
to, I say to people all the time, like my daughter is 20. She has spent the last 10 years of her life consumed by education. What am I going to be when I grow up? What am I going to study? What am I going to specialize in? I have to get good grades. And what happens when that's gone? Like,
It is the $1 million question. And with the 13-year-old, I'm obviously thinking it too. And thankfully for her, she has a front row seat to the work that I get to do in industry every day. So as you can imagine, she's got a lot of curiosity around the technology and where I'm using it in different industries and how I'm teaching it. And she sees herself already. She's already created in her mind the role that she would like to have in the future. And she
okay.
put together a concept of a role that she saw in the F1 movie with that woman engineer that was, basically
Yeah.
a stone's throw like away from extreme like mechanical engineering, and she wants to be that person, but she wants to leverage artificial intelligence so that she could create like the ideal race car. And I thought to myself, these are such great quality conversations to have with kids around talking to them about their imagination and then pairing that still with that pursuit of education, because that's important. Like the majority of the skills that we get in university, so many of them are the social skills and the life skills and the ability to be gritty and resilient. All of these things are what your degree equals, because we know that the knowledge of books is online. So that was never really the pursuit, because the internet gave that to us. If you really wanted to get and just read all those materials, you could. But there was never anything that could substitute the experience for going to university and just having that, sitting in a classroom, listening to a professor, having great conversation that was curated by them with your peers. I mean, all of that. And of course, the parties and all the other crazy things and the lower stakes and higher stakes risk environments that our kids get into and that we don't want to know about, but they're all there, right? And unfortunately, we do know about them because they all have cell phones. Back in the day, I mean, that wasn't an issue for us, and I'm very grateful for that, to be honest. But
Yeah.
when you think about the experience of education and the meaning of it, still goes back to that core theme, I'm convinced, of connection, right? We connect with
Mm.
experiences and then education, and this becomes a fulsome identity of who we are as an individual. And we're about to enter an era where individual contributors will start day one as a manager. We will never know another era where individuals come in and don't start managing either an AI bot or some sort of AI system that they are co-managing. So these roles, everybody's instantly going to progress into manager. And so the shift in the workplace it's going to be very rocky. From where I sit, there is a vacuum of this ability as leaders to make sure that we're connecting with our people, because we've taken that for granted. And again, we're not observing that sub-zero trust that is being that is eroding in real time because of the environment that most folks are working in. And then that change of what leader even means now for this next era, what mid-level leader means, what individual contributor means. The identities of all these things in the workplace are now being reshaped in real time.
Wow. So what does, oh, there's so many questions.
I know.
What does AI literacy mean in the future? What does that, no?
It's not tools training. So right now, I really want people just to take a step back and remember we are in early days of a unregulated piece of technology. We're going to call it a Ferrari because it is. Nobody has the training to use it to the full capabilities. Nobody knows how to drive a Ferrari to its full potential unless you've been highly trained, right? It's a very small subset of individual, yet we all have a Ferrari parked in our driveway right now. Most of us don't even have a learner's permit for it yet. Okay, so we're 14 and we're sitting in the front seat of this thing and we're thinking to ourselves, I don't know the rules of the road, but man, this looks really fancy. Okay, but I want to drive it, but I don't know how. And then a lot of us do have a little bit of experience, but if you asked us like what any of the buttons on the dashboard do or any of the tweaking of anything, we probably don't know, and let alone how to manage all the paddle shifting, right? That's not. So all the circuitry and everything that exists in this Ferrari, none of us understand its full capabilities. And it doesn't matter if you're a child or an adult, you have equitable access to it. And that is, I think, one of the most interesting moments of technology's history that we've done that. And for those who are old enough to know, in the advent of the internet, it was heavily regulated because it was created and sponsored and brought along by government. So it was something that was heavily research-based and rooted in academia. So not everybody got access to it right away until we figured out some of the guardrails and we had all of that in place. But right now we have it privately funded, and because of that, it's highly commercialized. So we are being sold AI all day, every day, even when we're not asking for it. So I think this overwhelming sense that I can't catch up, I can't even catch a breath, that is by design. Okay, everybody's trying to get you to buy something right now because it's easy to get you to buy because you're on your back foot, because you don't know what problem you have that AI solves. And that is really the core of my work, is right now understanding inside of an organization, what are the problems you have that AI could solve? Let's not start with the tools and the sales pitch of either Y Copilot's for you or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Grok or any one of those things. Let's not start with the names. Let's start with the problem set and get really deep with that problem set. Once we understand the problem set, then there's like a very short list of the tools that you need, maybe 3 or 4 max on a good day. Okay, which really removes a lot of the noise that a lot of folks are, they get every day, all day on their phones, right? And their friends coming up to them saying, hey, have you heard of this thing? And you're like, I don't know. Even that happens to me. And I had to say to people, I'm like, well, it's kind of like asking me about a drug for a medical problem that I don't have. I don't know about that. And then they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, that is the same thing. That is essentially what we're doing. So, and then we're told that it's easy and cheap, and they don't understand why we're not having huge success with it. And again, it's because it's not coming from a consumer has a problem and I need to go solve that problem. It's coming from a business trying to sell you something and trying to paint a picture that it's easy, cheap, and you should be doing it because all your friends are doing it, so you need to be buying. So there's a lot going on in the market when it comes to AI adoption and what's going on in organizations, but failure is rampant because we are in a sales cycle of buying instead of a discovery cycle of learning and getting closer to our problems that we think we want to solve. Because if we start there, then literacy can start. If we know the problems, then we learn that small set of tools and we boost our literacy and our competence and confidence. And once that floor lifts, that we know the things that we care about, we know the subset of tools that can help us with that, then once that floor raises, then we can look at the ceiling and we can go after the bigger things in business that were never before possible. But it starts with that core literacy of like Think of it when we all learned how to read. Right now, if you're self-taught, your literacy, I'd rate you at about a kindergartner, grade 1 level, and that's okay, right? But the more you become aware of the problems that you have and the more problems you're able to solve with these tools, that literacy goes up to high school and college within weeks. But it just takes, you got to start with the problems you want to solve. You don't get there just by learning a tool and thinking that that tool is cool, because if it doesn't solve a real business need, you don't have anything except a great Instagram reel.
But what happens when people turn to AI to decide what problem to solve? Like that's what my fear is that we're relying on AI as a critical thinking tool or partner that is biased, that is,
100%.
is not human. It, although people like to feel like, oh, AI listens to me. No, it doesn't.
No.
It's programmed to respond. It doesn't listen to the news, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this distinction of how people perceive AI, like, oh, it knows everything, and then I don't need to fact check. I don't need to,
Mm.
to use human interface to understand, is that really the right application for this problem that I'm trying to solve? So where is that distinction made?
I think that's a multi-layer problem. I encourage people to go into the tools to describe the business environment that they're in and to get tips on how other people are solving the problem, because most folks would just use Google for that in the past, right? They would be like, here's what's happening on my team, help me. you know? So that behavior has been around for a really long time. But I think that from an opportunity perspective, we need to remember productivity wins are table stakes. This is where we all start, right? We're all starting with the easy stuff, which is, how can I not spend 12 hours on a PowerPoint? I can show you how to do that. We can get rid of that, right? But I can't help you with your relationship with time. So
Yes.
if you love spending 14 hours on that PowerPoint because that's what you're known for and that's your brand, and that you think that that is valuable work for you, then if I show you how to do it in 30 seconds, it's going to crush you. And so this is, I think, foundational to what are the problems that we're solving. I think there are problems as humans we need to address before we bring them to tools, which is, if I had all my productivity problems, like I said, which is the ground level of AI solved, what is my value?
Mm.
What is the value of my work? And for folks that run, I work very closely with a lot of leadership companies, a lot of leadership training companies. And when they first start working with me and I show them how I generate my decks and my content, I never spend more than 30 seconds on anything because I don't see IP. It doesn't matter to me anymore. It just is a personal stance for me and my business. I don't think I own anything proprietary. What's proprietary is me and my approach in a room and why you would bring me in versus someone else. That's what I work on every day, not my decks, right? And I don't live in my decks. So my relationship with time, I'm very comfortable with, but when I bring that thinking towards like consulting companies, like inside a Deloitte or EY, like that is a harder conversation because a lot of proprietary thinking that was valuable in the past does live in that activity. So the problem set first starts with humans making sure that we're not seeing this as a replacement of their thinking and what they're doing, but how do we make sure that the most valuable thing, and we can lean into their gifts with these wins. When we unlock the win, how can we allow them to lean into their gifts? So it's twofold. The problem we're solving for sure, but then the problem we create when we solve that problem is, how does everybody feel about us solving that problem? And how are we going to make sure that everybody feels valuable and that when we free up that time, they've got something really great to do with it, which was maybe sometimes the reason why they wanted that job in the first place, because they thought they would be doing something else, but instead they were in the spreadsheets or inside of the PowerPoint. So do we have the skills to have those conversations, and do leaders have those skills right now? Is they're really being tested in it?
So let's circle back to coaching
Yeah.
then. What is the the use for coaching? You talk about, connection, and maybe it's computer literacy. I don't know, but what is the skill that will differentiate a leader in the future when AI is, present and being used?
I believe the opportunity in AI is to allow us to lean more into our gifts and the things that make us unique and bring that more into the room instead of into the busy work. In order to get there, the conversation that happens around how we get from A to B is an individual story that only the person who owns the problem actually has the answer to. So this is why I think coaching, I'm so incredibly fortunate to have had the time that I had with you and your program, because it allowed me to unlock this chapter in my career. I can be this way in a room because I am so certain that the path to the destination that everybody wants to go in AI, I don't have the answer to, they do. And that is when we co-author that together and when we work on that together, instead of me directing them to a destination to which nobody's ever been. They're the only ones that have ever lived in that role inside of that company, know all the customer information. They are the only ones that have that proprietary data set, which is what AI needs to be successful. So who am I in there if I am not the compass to getting back to the thing that they know, the things that are all the information that they're going to need to take their right next step? So it is literally my mission in there to stay out and get out of the way of trying to suggest tools or a pathway, but instead just curate the journey of that self-discovery of, again, raising the risks that will show up when we solve some of these problems together, which is our relationship with time, with our relationship with our value, and things that show up in the workplace around trust, right? To keep us anchored to those very human things as we are bringing the technology in and making sure that we're holding skepticism and excitement in the same room, in the same container, and both can be true at the same time. So I think that's really the nature of the work. And what coaching as a philosophy gives me is that patience and that calm in a room to be that person. And when you and I met years ago at the very beginning of my pathway down this road of learning about coaching, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Like it was an insane teardown and transformation of my thinking in the room, because we're headed into an era where, like I said, if you want the IQ points, you can plug into a wall and you can get them, but you can't get context when you plug into the wall. You just get predictable things that people have done in the past. And again, if you're trying to chart a course to a place that you've never been, that's not, you need the context and you need your own wayfinding skills, because you have those answers and then you can create that future you've always wanted to have, but it's in you.
Yeah, that's, I think that when we think about, skills of the future, when technology starts to become more prominent as it is already, we have to develop these skills of communication, of clarity, of curiosity. And that's something that I see every day people are not intuitively developing. I see, people like you yourself, but also like, professionals from all walks of life with, years and years, like decades in expertise. And they often will say, where was this like at the start of my career? How did I not learn to communicate in this way? And so, what do you think is an area where young people need to focus? Like, what is the next wave of jobs and job skills, and where do we need to focus our young generation?
I believe their education around the tooling is going to be very important. I see that even in my own child, understanding again that they have equal access to my Ferrari, even though they don't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Okay. And nothing's keeping them away from the Ferrari. So I think that is really important. So I would say that education and participation is my form of resistance. So as a parent, I don't shy away from social media. I'm in there because I'm in there showing my kid every day, all day, the things that she needs to know about it so that she can make great choices about it. We talk about it frequently. I think I probably have the only teenager in the country that isn't on social media because she's seen me watch inside these or work inside these companies and understand how we are the product and that they are designed not in our best interests. And she knows in what way that could impact her. So she makes great choices. And I think the same is true with AI. Early days, right now, ChatGPT in her schoolwork is not allowed, but I do have a special agreement with her teacher because they know what I do, that we experiment with ways because I need help using these tools, helping her with her homework. Grade 8
Mhm.
math is not my domain of expertise. Okay. I learned a very slabby way of doing long division. And Lord, that was like so long ago. Like, don't make me go back there. I would rather die. So, my daughter knows this about me and but really wants my help with her homework, even though I said I'm
Mhm.
not suited for this. So we use these tools to create what I need to be a good support to her. And then I bring that in and I show her teachers so
Mm.
that they can see how I used it. And then side by side with them, I'm going to create a pilot that brings teachers towards AI, and we can create this environment. Like, we create a container together for 6 weeks and we learn about the tech. And then, again, we start with the productivity wins, and then we go after the bigger things. Like, what are the needs in the classroom that you wish you could always go after, but you couldn't because of the huge lineup at your desk? Like, what are the things? Like, who have you always wanted to be? And I think with children, it opens up the imagination of if anything was possible for you to do anything in this world, what is it? And I know the options for me when I was growing up was to be a teacher or a nurse or a physiotherapist. Those were my options. I can't
Yeah.
believe it. But as a Gen Xer and as a woman, like, that kind of was the path until I decided it wasn't going to be. So I think understanding as a parent that we don't have the map to where they're going. But I'm telling you right now, I will be way more supportive and forgiving and have a lot of empathy for her journey as she figures it out, because I know the challenges that she will face will not be the ones that I faced. For us, it was network. We just needed to have a strong network and we could get a job. We could get a job that afternoon. Somebody we knew a person, and the next day, like, I don't even remember applying for a job for the first few rounds of my career. It was just like, I know a person, they're looking for somebody, and then that's just how we rolled, right? Our kids coming up, they're going to be interacting with AI to get jobs. And that is an experience that you and I, frankly, don't have. I mean, I have it because I'm in the tech and I'm helping people test it, but I will never apply for a job ever again. Right.
I mean,
Because that's the luxury of business ownership.
yeah,
But
like,
teaching her and showing her a front row seat to
yeah.
entrepreneurship has also been, I think, a huge education. So any exposure you can give your kid to being a business owner, I think, is really important right now, because if they have those interests, it has never been a better time, or you have never had better tools at your disposal to be a business owner. And also just that imagination for knowing, don't paint your bias onto them about what you think their career path is going to be. Just be there as an incredible support to them as they figure it out. And if that means they're living at home until they're well into their 20s, well, I mean, it's hard to know what it's going to look like for them, right?
Well, and my big concern is, and I've had conversations with my daughter as well, again, who's 20, and my son, I see it as well. This difficulty to be social skills, connecting to another person. My daughter has said that it's really tough because most people are focused on their devices and they're not looking up. They're not
Yeah.
looking for human connection. They would rather, it seems, hide with the device. So what does that do? And you even said, we're not going to be doing networking anymore. We're going to be talking to AI to get jobs. And like you, I think my first 2, 3 jobs were probably through networks and referrals. So yeah, what happens to social skills and just this human connection? What happens to it when AI becomes prominent in everyone's lives?
I think we made a few critical mistakes along the way, allowing teenagers and children just in general to have phones and social media. so early. I think we just didn't really understand the implications of what that would mean. And my daughter's exactly the same. She'll be like, Mommy, can you come pick me up from this sleepover? Because everybody's just on their phones. And
Oh,
I'm trying to get them to go out and do something, but nobody's interested in even going for a walk or going for a skate or like whatever, and so I see that as a huge challenge. And she's a child with some deep feels, so she's very in tune with her room
like,
to her detriment, and I always just say to her, well, you could stick around and just hope for the best, or I can come and get you. What do you want to do? And she's like, well, maybe I'll just hang out for like an hour, and if I can't get them off their phones, and maybe I'll give you a call. I'm like, all right, cool. I just think though, when we did this, we created the foundation of where we're at right now. But the advanced late stage capitalism and consumerism that we've created with these devices is something that cannot be undone now. It is so ingrained that my hope is that there is a next generation of devices. Like soon the phone won't exist. This is already considered technically old tech, right? It's been around for a really long time. It's shocking to me, in fact, how much we are still reliant on this just as a format, because I've seen the future, and the future is definitely something you're wearing that's just on you. And this is coming fast and furious, especially in the age of AI. The need for the physical phone is definitely going to disappear. So what will that look like for the next generation of kids coming in? Will that mean that everybody's, got some hologram in front of them that they're interacting with? Likely, right? And or their own personal little drone. We're already seeing this, actually. It's being released for the Olympics this year, like that idea of that personal solo drone so that it can follow the athlete. The world is changing so quickly when it comes to how we're interacting and how we're viewing and engaging with content, that is what is driving this tech, not our own personal needs. So I think that is really the question we need to be asking, is like, at what point are we going to ask for something that creates connection between us, and then technology companies need to respond? And I don't have an answer for that, because it seems like we've sort of given up custody on our role in that, because we're consuming and we just continue to consume. So the second we all put our phones down, we would get their attention, but somehow they got us and we're not doing it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, it feels
I
like,
think it's a real skill.
yeah, it feels like we've outsourced connection, and we're not sure how to get it
Yes.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we notice it's missing, we don't know what to do. And we just put it on a shelf and we're like, oh, that's an interesting feeling. Oh, well, you know?
Back to the phone.
Yeah. Back to the phone. Well, maybe I'll just check Instagram. I think that's really what this comes down to. If you want to be intentional about your use of this technology for the future, you have more agency in that than you think. And I think a lot of us have bought the line that we don't, because they made us feel like we're being left out if we're not involved on these platforms. But if you're not a business owner and you don't have anything on the line being on social media, you're better off just being in your own world, and trying to capture some of that realness back in your own life. And it's just something I think that needs to be raised as like something we celebrate in ourselves, instead of something that is a luxury or a nice to have.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. And I mean, and the question that comes up for me is, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, are we doing a disservice to the younger generations if we don't expose them and teach them and give them the skills and the knowledge to use this technology? While at the same time, I also wonder, will culture sort of take care of itself? Like, you know how we say in a group of people, the group takes care of itself. Will the
Mhm.
culture take care of itself? I have seen some movements of young people who say, you know what, I'm not going to use the phone, and we're putting our phones down. They're even going to flip phones. And
Yes.
is, is it going to take care of itself? I wonder.
It will, I think, in small pockets, but we have to remember to connect in small groups with one another. So, one of the ways that culture takes care of itself, but not for you, is when big pockets of people stop talking to one another, because we fear that if we say something real to someone, there's some sort of retribution, right? Like we're in a world right now where you watch retribution live happening on Truth Social, like in real time. When someone says something that the room is feeling, like what Mark Carney did, all of a sudden retribution comes fast and furious. And I believe that when we see that being modeled out in the world, a shutdown does occur in most folks just for safety. They don't want to speak what the group is thinking. So the key is what I've been saying and sharing with my cohorts is get into smaller groups. Reconvene. The culture of convening is the thing that we need to cling to the most. And women are great at this. We know how to convene. We can get a book club together like nobody's business. We can get, like we
can
are
build
tailor-made. We are tailor-made for this, right? Because we think about that. We think about community, just we're hardwired for it because that's just who we are. And it's something we should celebrate. But I think being really intentional about convening people that you can just be yourself and have very real conversations with and just say for a minute, we can express anything that we want about anything that we're seeing out in the world. And I'm not keeping score, right? Let's get out of that transactional nature of this conversation. I'm not keeping score. What's going on with you? What's going on in your mind? And somebody who asks me that question will get a totally different response than what's new, Christa? Like what's new in your world, right? Versus like, how are you feeling about the things you're seeing around you right now? Like, so just to go back to that example with Prime Minister Mark Carney, he said the thing, he gave language to a sentiment that a lot of us have been feeling for quite a long time and didn't quite have the words for it, but his were amazing. And what that did was, for a moment, we dropped that we can't talk about it. We can. Like, I think probably the quality of conversations in everyone's household for at least 2 or 3 days after that shifted because someone at the top modeled that for us and said, it's okay. I'm going to take the hit. You guys, I'm going to give us all a hall pass for 48 hours. Say what's on your mind. Right? What a novel concept. And how many folks like got active in their little chat rooms, passing around these photos. I saw it live, right? I got excited. I created a photo of me high-fiving him on stage using AI, by the way. And it was marvelous. I sent it to my mother and she's like, she lives with me. And she's like, if I didn't know you were upstairs in your office, I would have said to you, where are you right now? Right? Because he's making eye contact with me. Like, it's amazing. But I'm not a very skilled prompter for image generation, by the way. That was what was so marvelous to me about it, was that it looks so good. And I really don't think that I'm that great with that tech. But what it surfaced was like, yes, collective, yes. We are tired of feeling like we can't say what's on our minds. And as humans, I think the more we hide from these convening conversations, we just, again, it's all perishable. We just stop doing it because it's easier just to go to my algorithm and my Instagram feed, which is going to confirm my thinking, and I don't have to gut check it with another human being. So I think that gut checking with others, and then maybe one other person, and then a group of 3, then that turns into a group of 5, I really think is the recipe for making sure that you don't lose your mind for the next couple of years. Because if you lose that ability to connect with 3 or 4 or 5 other people and just have that safe place where you can judgment free share what you're really thinking, it's a real gift if you can find it.
And that's why we built the community that we have. I can honestly say it's been the unpredictable gift of the work to create community around the programs, and then to create this actually start to build community through the live workshops and the way we convene, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that moved me the most in one of our conversations, because we have conversations, we have workshops, we have like people talking and building and thinking together. They're not webinars where you see a bunch of people names online.
It's not passive.
It's not passive, right? And I had asked the question to one of the gatherings, which maybe there was 20, 25 people there. And I said, finish this sentence. What people don't see about being human is to me. So this, like, what is the hardship of being human? Like, what's hard about being human is, that's what the sentence was. So finish the sentence. I was floored by what was shared after that question was posed. And it just made me realize how deeply we need that kind of forum. And even on a virtual platform, it works. It's
Oh,
when
yeah.
we can actually talk and exchange and that reciprocal relationship that happens. It's so important to our, the way that we flourish as humans.
It is. And we connect through the eyes, right? And when we have great line of questioning and we're connecting through the eyes, I do the majority of my work online, virtually. Very
Hmm.
rarely do you catch me in person, but it doesn't make it less impactful, doesn't make it less emotional because we're
Yeah.
staring at each other in the face and our bodies don't know the difference. And for women especially, I find the fact that they don't have to worry about their physical safety often means that we can get at more deeper
Mm.
into the conversation because they're not in a room worried about at all about their physical safety. And I think this is the difference between how some of my male peers operate and what I know to be true about women, especially at a certain age. We've had a lot of things in our lives that we've experienced, and a lot of it goes back to safety. And so, if we're practicing these things and we're going with great line of questioning, that is the most beautiful question you could ask people right now, and they can't help but answer it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and once they listen to how honest and how raw someone else is being, it just allows other people to lean into it. Because then again, that convening of a sharing of an idea, and then that epiphany goes to, it's not just me.
Oh, yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
think
Yeah.
it's one of the most powerful moments in a room where you see it happen and it just unlocks where that sentiment, it's not just me. Like, again, back to your moment, same thing with what happened on the world stage with our leaders. It's not just me who's thinking this is crazy and it shouldn't be like this, right? So I think if we can create moments, connection happens at a very deep level when there is that relating of it's not just me, but we don't necessarily, that doesn't make someone else's experience any less than. It becomes all equal in a room, and that I think is a really powerful thing too.
Well, and I think what you were saying about Carney is that it's permission. It gives us permission to speak up, and that's what the community has done when we convene together. I think it brings, like yesterday I had a group of 35 people in a room, and one person started talking about their insecurity around a skill they were trying to develop. And then as soon as they spoke up, it's like, oh, I'm so glad you said that because I feel the same way. And then another person and another person, and you start to see that it happens in front of you, right? People are like, and I would have not predicted it, to
Mhm.
be honest. Like I couldn't have predicted it. I couldn't have predicted how willing people are to open up to each other. And I think that's even stronger. That will is stronger today than ever before. And, so there is a huge upside. There is a lot of hope. And I feel fortunate to be able to have these conversations like with you and leveraging your experience to make myself more aware of all the different sides. Well, I have 4 questions that I ask at the end of these podcasts, so I do want to, and I know you're a busy lady, so I want to just
All
make sure
right.
I respect your
I'm
time.
excited to be here. This is a full circle moment for me. I really like, before you ask me the questions, I just want to say the experience that I had in your program was life changing, and it set me on the course to be in this chair right now with you. And I
Mm.
cannot thank you and the team enough. This moment in the world requires an investment in yourself, in being the type of person that can really support people the way that they need to. There's never been more demand for for just the basics of, like I said, learning and reconnecting with the value of being human. And so, yes, thank you for letting me join you today. I'm thrilled to be here, and I couldn't be more grateful for how we collided and what that meant as a career changing moment for me in my trajectory. So thank you.
Thank you. That's such a wonderful thing to be able to get that kind of feedback, and also just to see what you've done with what you learned. That is you paying it forward and multiplying the impact. And that's, that's what we're here for. So thank you. All right, here we go. What does
Okay.
human connection actually mean to you today?
Understanding of experience of someone else.
Okay. Okay. And what is one lesson that you would want to tell your younger self?
You'll meet Nathalie at some point, and it's all going to be okay.
Hilarious.
She'll put you back together. Honestly, I think just like in that same line, you don't have it all figured out, but you're not meant to, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And in this tech world and in this world that we live in, and especially your world, what does fulfillment mean today for you?
Experiencing joy.
Mm.
I learned this with my co-founder, Renee. She exudes a level of joy that is on a scale that none of us can achieve.
Yeah. I know that about Renee. I'm picturing her smiling face right now.
Yes, there is pure joy there. And when you have joy, you have fulfillment because you're leaning into, again, your gifts. Nothing feels like work. It's all enough, right? So that feeling of the chasing of when I have this thing, it's all going to be great. I mean, none of that exists in this world. I think we know now that nothing is certain. Our relationships that we thought were long-term may not be. The money you have in your bank account right now could be worthless in a year. The houses we all live in. I mean, it's all, to me right now, from my seat and how much transformation is happening. I know right now, in order to be fulfilled, it is not going to be a material thing that is going to give me that. It is only going to be my connection to the work and the joy that I have, and watching the pursuit of the ripple effects of the work. That is the cup filling thing that keeps me in the game. Even with the uncertainty that I see in my own life. I'm no different than everyone else. I'm still a business owner that is terrified every day when they get out of bed, wondering what the day is going to bring, or what post went out, or what speech was had, or what new tariff is coming in. I mean, fulfillment is something you have to decide you have with something that you can create on your own. And it's that combination of your actions that you're taking every day. And to me, that's what that means. Living in joy. Everything is enough. And one day at a time. That's fulfillment to me right now.
Yeah, I love that everything is enough. Okay, and then what is one question you would ask the universe if you could and get the answer to?
Oh,
I've heard
it's
some
not
really.
going to be, will the robots take over? Because I'm quite convinced they won't. Okay, this is going to sound really stupid. But I just want to know, if I say please and thank you to all my AIs, is that going to matter?
I've been told I have to. I've been told that please and thank you is really important.
I think you should, and I can tell you why in a minute. But I just want to know how that turns into the moment where I get to see that reflected back to me.
Oh, wow.
In
Okay,
AI.
so tell me why you think we should.
So I have a theory, and I believe that the majority of this technology is learning from us, learning from our interactions, and we train it on data that had some of that. It has a lot of filler language too. That's why we have M dashes and things that we can't get rid of. We're super annoyed by them, but it's so funny because we can't get through a sentence without saying like or or right? So we
reflects our humanity.
100%, warts and all, it's all in there, right? Like somehow it's going to be the best of us when we haven't even decided what the best of us is, right? So that I'm convinced that my interactions give it information that it's not all a pile of shit, that there is something, there are like individuals in the world that speak with kindness and respect and with gratitude. And I think if I want to see more of that out in the world, then I need to make sure that it is in the interactions of the things that are influencing the future of our world. And that is my stance on that. And I know I'm very aware of the water, the electricity, the human costs, the planetary costs. I see it all day, every day. I am convinced that we have a lot of incredible brain power that will, all technology that is new starts very dirty. And I live in a province that has, solved below ground problems very well. And now we just need to solve some above ground problems. And I know we can do it. We've got the capacity. And this is, again, the very beginning of our journey with AI as a commercialized advanced technology that we all have. So I'm confident that will be resolved. And on the way to that, I want to make sure that that kindness and the gratitude and just being a good human being is reflected enough inside of these tools that it's seen. And again, that's my participation is my resistance. That's what I mean by it, is I refuse to be another person other than me inside of these tools, because I want it to know that there's something out there that has that element to it. So yeah.
I mean, and what we're saying makes complete sense. If you look at Google Earth or Google Maps, or it all learns from the usage, right?
Yes.
How we use it. So it absolutely makes sense. Oh, interesting. I never thought of it that way. Thank you for that.
It's what I do all day, every day.
Right?
Welcome to a day at my desk. I'm so glad we could do this.
Okay, so tell people, where can they reach you if they want to connect quickly, and then we'll also put your contacts.
Amazing. We've got a website, tacit-edge.com. So that's TACIT-edge.com. We've got education. We train teams. I work with executives. I do a lot of different things, but mostly I work on individual literacy. So if you are questioning your future in the world of AI, how it impacts your career, and how you want to be the author of that, not just the taker of it, that is really the focus of a lot of my work, and I do it across all sectors. So please come find me. Let's have a conversation. That's all I do, like I said, all day, every day, with joy and complete fulfillment. So you are not a bother if you want to have a conversation with me about this. That's where you can find us.
Oh, amazing. And we will put that link in the show notes as well. And I just want to say that, I truly believe that the power of connection that's being practiced in a conversation like this with you is how we change, how people communicate, and how we prioritize connection in the world. So I just want to say thanks for practicing connection with me today.
It's been a pleasure. And again, thank you for all the work that you do. I'm thrilled to be a part of this. So thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be in touch, and thank you for the time. We hope this conversation has inspired you to share this episode with a friend and subscribe for more connection conversations. Pay the gift of awareness forward. Share this episode and belong to a community celebrating what it means to be human, flawed, and flourishing. This is the Connection Experiment, produced by Coach Academy. I'm Nathalie. Thanks for listening.